My name is Alyssa with Ascension Parish Library in Dutchtown, and today we are doing our Q&A with Kevin McQuarn. I would like to give you information about Kevin for just a minute, and then we'll get started, you guys. We're going to get into me just discussing with Kevin different goalposts, different things that happened along his life and along his creative journey. We'll get into more of the specifics, specifically with his graphic novel, and then we'll have time for patron Q&A. So just for you all to know, Kevin McQuarn is the owner of FantomLight. It's a production company specializing in video creation and event streaming. He writes, produces, and directs television shows, documentaries, music videos, and short films. He's written scripts for Cartoon Network's Teen Titans Go and DC Comics. He's won several awards, including the Award of Merit from the American Association of State and Local History for his documentary, Con High School, How We Love Thee, and his debut short film, Me, Mom, and Dad, received 5 48-hour film project nominations. Kevin has also served as the online entertainment editor and chief videographer of The Advocate, the daily newspaper for Baton Rouge and New Orleans, for 11 years. As chief videographer, Kevin received numerous awards for his socially relevant production work from the Southern Newspapers Publishers Association, Louisiana Publishers Association, and the Associated Press Managing Editors. Kevin, you've done so much. Welcome to today's program.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all very much. And I appreciate y'all coming early on Saturday morning and talking with me a little bit. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Like, I do much better when it's like a back and forth type thing. So
we'll definitely do that today, Kevin. I've just been so excited, you guys, to get to meet Kevin. I know not everyone, when you think of producer, you think of author, you don't always think of someone in your backyard. You don't always think of your neighbor. And it's super, super exciting to have a local person who's been in all this, who's done all of this. And I know we have people of all different ages joining us today. Kevin, the first thing I'd like to talk about is just your journey through creativity. When do you feel like you found your creative spark? Were you one of those young kids at school, like already drawing, already creating stories? When did it all kind of start for you?
Oh man, I don't know. I've always been creative. I remember back when I was little, we didn't have like a whole lot of money, so I had these little green army men, and I remember having to pretend that these were like Superman and Batman and like the Justice League, because I couldn't afford the real Justice League. So, and taking them on little adventures and stuff. So that was the earliest time that I can remember learning how to tell stories and going through stories and going through those adventures. But when I was in 4th grade or 5th grade, I remember they had a writing contest called the Read More Writing Contest. And it was like a little crawfish we had to write about and how he affected reading, and he promoted reading and that kind of thing. And I remember I won out of the school, and then I won out of the parish, and I won out of the state. And they gave me a little book with my name in it and my story in it. And I looked in the book and I was like, I'm a writer. Okay. So that's when I started seeing myself as more of like a writer and being able to actually do it. Because before I didn't even know that was an option for me.
That is so awesome. It's so wonderful to see just a small spark and seeing that confirmation. And it had to be really cool to be so young and already see like your finished product, like to already see your finished story.
Yeah, it was great to pass around. Like my family made a big deal out of it. My school made a big deal out of it. So, I think that helped in me feeling like I can actually do it. Like I can actually create, and people would enjoy the stuff that I do. So.
Yeah, right. Did you carry that on into focusing on any particular clubs in school? Did you have any particular writing clubs or any particular art, drama that you latched onto in high school or even in college to just continue that creativity?
Well, they didn't offer a lot of writing school or writing classes when I was in school, a long time ago. So they didn't have quite the same curriculum. But like I remember, first of all, I can't draw at all. Like I draw a mean stick man, but that's as far as I go.
Okay.
So I always had to focus on the writing side of things. Like I always had to focus on story and breaking that down and what that meant. So even through like middle school and stuff, like I really looked at comic books, and I love comic books. I love comic books. I love movies. I still do. So that's what I really looked at. And since I couldn't draw, the only thing I could focus on was story. And don't get me wrong, I tried. I really, really tried. It's just not my forte. So it wasn't something that I was good at. So I really focused on story and telling those stories and kind of breaking down movies as we saw them and those kind of things. So like that helped me through middle school and high school because there wasn't a whole lot of outlets for that kind of creativity there. Now going to college was a little different, but by college I was in a different area. I wanted to be wanted to work for NASA, that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Let's talk about that, Kevin. I remember you mentioning that to me, and to see someone who has created short film, created award-winning short films, created commercials, who created a book, and you've decided, I'm going to go work for NASA. Like, how did that get there? Because, a lot of people see science and creativity or science and art. They don't always necessarily realize they can all go together and you can enjoy all of it. How did you get down that path?
And I wanted to be Captain Kirk when I was a kid. I wanted to explore strange new worlds and boldly go and that kind of stuff. So I like I really wanted to do that because after writing about it so long, like I really just wanted to do it. So I've always been a science fiction fan. Like I love sci-fi and stuff. So that was the next step for me. So when I went away to school, that's what I studied. I studied aeronautical sciences at a Nickel State for a while, and then I transferred to Auburn. And Auburn, I was really lucky that they offered that they had people coming to Auburn trying to recruit you to work for NASA. So that was the coolest thing. So I got an interview and I was like, this is my dream job. So I prepped and I was ready. So I went in and I ended up getting a job, and it was for a co-op program, which means you go to school for 3 months and you work for 3 months. And that was the coolest thing because you got relevant work experience. I got to work in the missions control room. I got to work on engines and engine design and structures and all this other cool stuff. But one of the biggest parts in it is like I wanted to be an astronaut. So I would talk to everybody about being an astronaut. So when I went and I was talking to one of the engineers, he he was very nice, but he said, it's going to be about 20 years before you get to be an astronaut. Like I'm 19, 20. So 20 years, I'm an old man. In my head, I was like, I'm an old guy. I can't do that. I barely get on the ship at 40. So I went back to school. I changed my major to mass comm. So if I couldn't be and actually do it, then I would write about it and create it. So everybody can enjoy it. So that's how I got from NASA to mass communication and doing this kind of stuff. But like I love NASA. In fact, I still have NASA jacket on. I love NASA. It's just, I'd rather write about it now.
I love that. I think it's important to nowadays, sometimes you get stuck into like, okay, what degree do I need to go for? Like, what do I need to get into? How does that go into my future? Is my degree, is every class going to really move into like my future career? And I love seeing that yours did. It just didn't work the way you expected it at first, but you were able to still use all of it. You were still learning and you're still putting it all together, like in what you love. That's pretty awesome.
Well, and that's what I think college is too. I think college is a way for you to learn who you are and learn what you love. It's not necessarily the end all be all. I think sometimes college is still part of your journey. And granted, I know college isn't for everybody. So, but for those who it is for and those who want to go, like I really think it's just part of the journey. You don't even know who you necessarily are going to be until much further after college. So just taking classes and learning what you love, I think is a big deal, and just kind of figuring all that out.
Awesome. So we know that you're not an astronaut. We know that you went into basically mass communications, and your production company, FantomLight, follows that as well. Where do you feel you found that quote unquote big break when it comes to putting it all together and really getting somewhere with what you loved and with what you went to school for?
And, I think, to be honest, The Advocate was my big break. It may not seem like it, but it was, because it allowed me to be the online entertainment editor. So what that did is it opened doors for me and gave me access to people that I would normally have access to. So I could go and I could talk to writers and directors and producers about the stuff that they were doing and ask them questions and they answered. So that was the coolest thing. They had the answer.
They
So
talk to you.
yeah, they actually talked to me about it. So that was the best thing. And it allowed me to talk to these people who are already in the industry and already doing it and already creating and already like have these great companies and ask them how they did it. And they answered. So it was the coolest thing. But I think in that, working for The Advocate, I covered something called the Red Stick Animation Festival. And they used to have it, I think it ended maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. But Baton Rouge used to have its own animation festival where LSU and Stacy Simmons, she was the founder, great person, like she ran it and it was wonderful. What it was, it would bring animation professionals to our state. So they'd have workshops and they'd have classes and they'd have even a pitch competition where you could take your idea, pitch it to these professionals, and they would give you feedback on it. And they would even sometimes open the door for you to go further. So that was the best thing. And I was covering that and I just started talking to people. And it just so happened the people that I was talking to, they kind of took me under their wing. I actually got my mentor from that. And she opened doors for me to do everything I'm doing now. The Teen Titans Go event, like it stemmed from that first contact. So they say that is not always who you know, or no, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And that's exactly true because in our industry, in fact, in all industries, it is connections. Like if you have that connection, then if you work hard and if you put forth the effort, then you could be successful. So that kind of got me doing this, like the animation side and the comic book side on the level that I'm doing. Yeah.
Right. I love that. I love it's amazing how many things happen locally that you don't even know about. Like the idea that, I mean, I knew Baton Rouge, especially a couple of years ago, and back then, like Baton Rouge was getting stronger in the movie industry, and every now and then that was waning, and I don't know where they are now because I don't keep up with it. But to know that up till a couple of years ago, someone could go to this festival and get their pitch and see if something could happen, like that's amazing.
Right.
How would someone know, like, let's just say someone that's listening today was like, man, I really, really wish I could have done that. Do you know, or how would someone know how to find such a thing now? Like, if we don't have one in Baton Rouge where it's an animation festival, how would someone go about searching for such a thing now?
And that's why that was so, like, I think the Red Stick Animation Festival was so special because of that. Like, there's not a lot of places you can go and rub elbows with people who are actually creating great things in LA and in Georgia and those kind of things. Um, there's just not a lot of places. I think for someone who wants to do this, I think the best thing to do is find a mentor. Like either find a company, an internship, a mentor, or like some kind of program that they can get their foot in the door and make the contacts. Also, there are some of the local comic book conventions that they'll have people there, and they may do workshops, or they may do those kind of things that you have access to people. And I think that's the biggest thing, like just having access and getting that information and talking to people. I think our state is lacking, and that's one of the things I would love to do as my company grows, to really give like youth access, like have them come in on some of the productions that we're doing, have them talk to real people who are editing and filming and people who are writing stories so they can learn how to do it. Our area is filled with these creative folks, but we don't always have the opportunity because we don't always have that access to people who can open doors or either just put their foot in the door and say, hey, now it's up to you to actually be successful. But I think that's what I want to do most, like have internships and mentorships and those kind of things. So, I mean, we have professionals who are working every day. Why not just bring youth in too so they learn and so they can go further? But anyway, yeah, sorry, I can talk about that all day.
No, I love that you have that mission inside of you, and that's something that you see as a long-term expansion for our area when it comes to creativity, when it comes to production. You see the need, and I think it's just phenomenal. I'm glad that you like that. Let's move into some of your productions. Let's talk about, you have done Teen Titans Go, you've written for television, you have done wonderful short films, you've done films for the 48-hour film. Was it 48-hour film festival? Is that what
Yes.
it's called?
Yep.
Another festival.
Yeah.
You've done oral history for West Baton Rouge Parish. I've seen you've done some oral history and just some local history for St. Francisville.
Mhm.
And then you've gotten into graphic novels. You've gotten into writing. I think a lot of people like the idea of learning more about graphic novels. Would you mind walking us through how do you create something that is yours and it's published and it's there? How did you do that with your graphic novel?
Awesome. So the graphic novel that I did is it is called Legendary. And Legendary just stemmed from an idea that I had. Like I always loved the Indiana Jones films and I love like the space sci-fi stuff. So I just wanted to blend something. I love pirates and those kind of things. And just the fun stuff that we all like to watch. So I came up with a concept called Legendary. And the first thing that I did was just kind of go through ideas and write those ideas down. But then once I had the ideas down, I wrote a script. And I'm going to share my screen with you real quick and start going through the process of showing you all the different aspects. So, so the first thing we did was a script. And let me pull that up if I can find it.
No rush, we're good.
Yeah, thank you. Let me see here. Hold on. Moving stuff around, and I actually show you the script format and everything while I'm doing it. There it is. Okay. All right. So I'll show you page 6 and 7. So the first thing you do is you write a script, and everybody's script is a little different, but on mine I like to break it down in panels. So this is 6 panels on page 6 and 7. And one thing that we wanted to do with this book, which wasn't exactly the best idea, like I like being creative. So I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to make a book of nothing but full page spreads? And I don't know if everybody knows what a full page spread is. It's like 2 of the comic book pages side by side. So I thought it would be great because this is something that we can look at on monitors and like laptop tablets, and we can actually see it. It doesn't just have to be in printed form. Great idea, but the technology went in a different way. But I'll get to that after I'll kind of finish it up a little bit. But so each of these pages is a full page spread because I really wanted to show off the art. I wanted to show off what the artist could do. So this is page 6 and 7, the script for it. She's trapped on a ship. She's been there for 2 months. She has a voice in her head, like another consciousness that's been talking to her. So she's feeling a little bit crazy. So, but it's a humorous book. So you'll notice in some of the images that we go through in a minute. But let me get another page. Let's see, stop sharing. And now I'll share what the rough pencils look like. So how it worked is, just to tell you, we go through 3 stages. We go through script, And then we do pencils, we do inks, and we do colors. And then we do letters, 4 stages, I guess. So, and after, like each stage has its own separate stages within each one of them. So even in writing the script, I had to send the artist references on what I saw and what, if there was a cabinet that I wanted in a particular way or a sword I wanted in a particular way, I had to send him references because again, I draw mean stick man, but that's as far as I go. So I had to find it on the internet or wherever just to show him what I saw. So so from that description, he came up with this, and let me see here, hold on. So, all right, so this is the, these are the rough pencils. So what we did here is he looked at the script, he went through it, and he went panel by panel, and this is what he came up with. So I would look at this and go, okay, panel 2 needs to be changed, or panel 3 needs to be changed. I don't like her expression. I don't like what she's doing. And then he would go back in and he'd make those changes. And he'd go through those revisions a couple of times and he'd come up with the light pencils. And that's this page. And this is a more detailed version of the page you just saw. So you notice the eyes are a little fuller, and there's just a little bit more detail here and there throughout the page. So he'd send that to me just in case there's something that I missed earlier, or just in case I want additional changes. It's easier for him to do it in this form than his finished pencils, because once he has finished pencils, it's really concise and it's really detailed. So from here, we went to his finished pencils.
We do have a question, Kevin.
Yes.
While we're talking about these different layers that you're discussing, do you know what program the artist uses to create these different levels?
Yes. This artist, this is just pencil and paper. That's it.
Okay, it's him.
Yeah. So he's just drawing on 2 11 by 17 pages.
Okay.
So from there, we scan those in and he can send them to me. Now, the interesting part, this artist, he is out of the country. He is in I think he's in Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
So everything that we do is all digital. He scans in the pages, he sends them back to me. This is just a process that we go through. And we've been doing it for a good 10 years now.
Wow.
Mr. McQuarn.
Yes, sir.
How much what's the typical price that an artist would ask for? What would it cost to hire an artist?
It depends on the artist. They range anywhere from $50 a page to, I've seen professional artists get about $1,000 a page. So it depends on the artist. At the height of, I don't know if you've ever heard of Images. I think it was Battle Chasers or one of those books. Like the artist was getting a nice chunk of money per page. So not every artist can get that, but yeah, it just depends on how in demand your art is.
One more question. In the script, how many pages is a typical script? About how many pages?
Comic books are usually 22, usually around 21, 22. It depends on how, like the printer, I think it runs in 4s, if I'm not mistaken. So it has to be a certain number. So usually scripts around 19 to 22 pages is usually like an average comic book script. And then you have ads and other stuff in it as well. But usually around 19 to 22 pages. I appreciate the questions. Thank you.
Do we want to continue discussing the different layers before we move into any other questions?
Absolutely. So in this one, you notice all the details. Like he really goes into like the small areas, the down here. He really does a good job at that. And if you notice on this side of the screen, he has little X's here and there. That's to tell the inker where to put the black. So the next step that we're going to talk about is inking. And in inking, that's what the book looks like ink, or this particular page looks like just with inks on it. And this inker in particular, he is a digital inker. So he scans it in. Well, actually, we have the pages already scanned in. So he'll take them, clean them up, and he'll start inking them from there. And inkers use, like, let me see, sometimes use Photoshop or either Illustrator. So either of those two programs that they can use to ink them. And our inker is really good. So our artist is good, our inker is good. I had a really good team on this one. I'm very happy with how it all turned out.
I do want to let patrons know I see your questions. We'll ask your questions. I'll ask them right after we're done getting to the completion of the different steps. I love all the different questions coming in. Don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm not.
Awesome. So, all right. So the next step that we're going to go to are the colors. So, and this is what the page looks like just with the colors on it. So the colorist, he's great too. He comes in and he'll put flats down first. And I don't have an example of this one, flats. But flats are just basic colors, no highlights, no anything, just to show you what the book is going to look like. And then if we have any change of colors, like if I don't like in a panel 2, if I think that's too brown, then I'll say, okay, I don't like the brown, let's change that to silver. Let's give a little bit more color on the chairs, that kind of thing. But it's a good place for me to make those changes before we go to this final piece, because once he has this, he has all the layers on it. He puts layers on too, like he puts like the flats, but then he puts all the highlights and the shading and those kind of things. Because if you look in a little closer, he does a lot of shading. There's a lot of shading. There's a lot of like just texture and stuff he adds to it.
Right.
So that's the next step. But then the final one are the letters. And the letter, I don't know what the letter uses. I think he uses Illustrator, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what the page looks like letter. So this would be the final page that we have.
That is so much fun just to see the different steps and to see it start from its creation into, all of it getting together. It's amazing. Now, we did have some questions from a few of our patrons as we were going through that. I'm going to try to go back to each one.
Awesome.
One question we had, sorry, my little cursor doesn't want to move. One person asked, what program was the ink done with? Which I know you said it was hand drawn, but when the inking was put in, did you say what program that was used?
I think it was Illustrator. I'm pretty sure he either did it in Photoshop or Illustrator. I'm not sure which one.
We did have another patron ask, did you have to take a loan to pay the artist and press? Or like, is that something that can be done? Can you take a loan? I'm kind of making it more of a universal thing too. No. Can you take a loan to pay for all of this if you're wanting to create a book?
You can take a loan for it. I didn't take a loan for it, and that kind of hurt because we pay at each stage. So the inker gets paid, the artist gets paid, the letterer gets paid. Yeah, everybody gets paid. So yeah, it hurts. Usually, my book, this one, it was around $2,400, like for each book. And each book is about 19 and 22 pages. But I got halfway in and I realized, you know what, this isn't gonna work. I want to do graphic novel. So the graphic novel is much more expensive. I think for the whole graphic novel, it was about And I'll tell you price because I know people need to know that, especially those who want to do this. The whole graphic novel was about $36,000 or $37,000 once I finished. So, but that was over the course of a few years. We worked on it. It wasn't like 1 year only, it wasn't like a month. That was a course of a lot of time and a lot of revisions. But it was a labor of love. Like I really wanted to do it. I wanted to tell the story. So I invested.
I appreciate your honesty with it all, because you're right. Not everyone's going to understand all the stuff that it takes to do it, the amount of time that it takes. Miss Carla.
Oh, and let me answer one other thing. The reason, I mean, it is always great to collaborate. Like it's always great. Like if you have an artist friend and you are a writer, it's always great to collaborate. For me, I tried that at the beginning of my career, and it was always hard to find someone who was as focused and as driven as you are. So I always felt like, and this is just personal for me, I always felt like if I'm paying somebody, they have a bigger stake in it than just somebody who's doing it in their spare time. Because those books that I worked on with people in their spare time, they never got done. So I had to come to that conclusion that in order to get the product that I wanted to, I had to pay for it. So that's what I did.
Thank you so much for that extra information. We had one patron. I'm sorry I'm not seeing y'all's names all the time, you guys, so I apologize for not crediting the questions. One person asked, is Legendary published, and is there a hard copy of it?
There is no hard copy. Because, and maybe I'll do a Kickstarter for that one day, but it's so expensive because of the format, and that's what I wanted to get to too, because I was trying to be innovative and trying to be fun and trying to do something different. That format cost a lot to actually be published. So a lot of the main publishers, they realized the cost of it all, and they were like, well, we're gonna pass on that one. But even to get it published on my own, it's a really big expense. So I actually meant it to be something that was always digital. So it is on Amazon, and it's on Kindle right now, because I felt like you can turn the screens and you can get the full color and the full extent of what I pictured. Eventually I'll probably do a hard copy, but those hard copies are very expensive because of the size. The size is an awkward size. And that's one thing that I really want to tell people too. When you start something like your first one or your second one, like really focus on industry standard, because industry standard is there for a reason. And everything's going to be built to industry standard. So if your book or your creation isn't what industry standard is, it takes more to get the public to see it. And that's one of the lessons I had to learn. It was a hard lesson, expensive lesson, but that's a good thing to know before you get into anything.
Thank you. We still have a few more questions on our chat feature, and then we'll definitely open it up if any of the people who have their video, if they want to audibly ask a question, just give me a few more minutes and we'll get to that. But we do still have a few quick questions here. We have Adam was asking if we could know how much Photoshop usually runs or how much it usually costs to have Illustrator. Would you happen to know those prices? I know.
Yeah, if you're a student, you get a great deal on the whole Adobe suite, and I'm not associated with the company at all.
But just giving us information.
Yeah, it's just basic information. As a student, and as a teacher, you get a really good deal on Adobe products. So if you're not a student, I'll be honest, the best time to wait for is around November or December, and they have a really good deal on the full suite of everything. And they'll offer you Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, the whole Adobe suite at a really nice price. But usually comes out around Black Friday. So
I'm gonna do one more of our questions in our chat feature, and then I'm gonna open it up for any auditory questioning, and then we'll come back to the chats here. So don't think I'm missing anybody. I'm gonna do my best, and if I miss something, chat it to me again. Adam also asked, how long does one page generally take? I don't know if he's maybe asking about the script itself, or maybe even just the creation of the page? I know you talked about taking years to do the book. So how long does it take to do roughly one page?
It depends on the artist. If you have a faster artist, you can knock a page out in a day or two, as far as like just the hand-drawn pencils, because pencils take a while because it's really detailed. So it just depends on the speed of your artist. Like I said, some artists, it takes them 3 or 4 days. Some artists can do that in a day or two. And it all depends how in-depth your art is too, because if you have a lot of detail, it takes time to put that detail in, and it takes time to ink it, it takes time to color it. So, but if you do a more cartoonish look to your book, then it's a quicker process, because cartoons, you can draw a cartoon page in like maybe a day or less. But if you got a lot of detail, like a lot of like realistic type detail, it takes longer to do.
Let us go ahead and see, does any of our panelists, those of you who have video now, would anyone like to ask any questions? If you want to like raise your hand or wave at me, I'll know. Okay, so Miss Susan has quite a few people who are waiting. Mr. Eddie, we'll go ahead and let you ask one question. If you,
Yeah,
if you
just this is my last question.
Sure.
You mentioned mentoring. You know, my son, he just finished with a BS degree in film from Full Sail University over in Orlando.
Mhm.
And I was wondering if you're open to you know, mentoring him or giving him an intern, allowing him to intern at your company.
I am. The biggest thing is when we have a lot of production going on, because right now with COVID, we're very particular on stuff, just because we have to be. So I'll still try to mentor, and I don't mind talking to him and giving him advice and bringing him in on any shoots that we have in the future. But like a daily thing right now, we just don't have that kind of work going, just because of COVID. But like we have shoots planned. We have several shoots planned in the next few weeks that I wouldn't mind talking to him on.
So how would I connect y'all? How would I get y'all connected?
You can, my contact information, I'm on Twitter at a FantomLight Film. You can contact us at FantomLight.com. I'm on Facebook at FantomLight. So you can just look up FantomLight and you can get in touch with me. I'm not hard to find. I mean, I'm local. I'm here.
And we'll add the link to FantomLight to our YouTube video when we record this and publish it on our library's YouTube page. So I know we had another person ask in the comments possible collaborations, how to go about if anyone's wanting to collaborate with you, Kevin. So you've already answered that question, but we will have that link to the website for FantomLight there as well. Miss Susan, if y'all want to go ahead and unmute and we'll see if the audio works, let's get y'all's question.
Tell them your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin. I would like to know if your connections with Cartoon Network Studios has opened up any form of opportunities for adult swim and Nickelodeon and any other kind of animation studios like that.
I can't hear him real good. Can you repeat the question?
Take your mask off and then
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of an echo because we can hear you, Miss Susan, but we can't quite hear the gentleman very well.
come up here and talk into the. Okay, hold on. We're getting him to speak right into the computer.
I asked if your connections with Cartoon Network Studios has opened up any other opportunities for Adult Swim, Nickelodeon, and things like that.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, my mentor, she's at Nick. So I sometimes pitch at Nick, but it's just it depends on the project too. Like I'm always trying to create new projects and do different things. So yeah, in essence, yes, it has.
All right, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it.
Okay, speak right into the.
Did you ever work with anybody who produced the original Teen Titans?
No, well, actually, probably. I didn't work with him directly. The producer that I worked with, he was a producer on Batman Brave and the Bold. So
You can look at
if
it.
you hadn't seen like that one, that was a great series. One of the old Warner Brothers. So that's what I work with directly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, we have another question.
Sure thing.
Look right into here and ask them your question.
So, I have two questions that
Take your
really,
mask.
I have two questions that came to mind for whenever I was sitting down. First of all, is like, you said that you personally write the scripts for Teen Titans Go. Am I correct on this?
I do. That one episode I wrote. Yes.
Okay, so do you write for anything else? And if you do you ever come up with like writer's block? And if you do, how do you like get your inspiration to get past that?
I write lots of things, man. But yeah, I do come up with writer's block. And honestly, like I just, it's funny how I kind of fix mine is I just write. Like I just write whatever I think of at the time. It doesn't necessarily have to make sense. It doesn't have to go with the story, but just writing something, like writing about one particular incident or in the script, like just kind of pick something and just kind of go and just write. And it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to start that process going again. And that's how I clear mine up. I just write whatever. Like if I need to focus on a sword in the next scene, I'll try to write something on where the sword came from. Or if I need to focus on where this particular piece of equipment came from, I'll try to write something on that just to kind of clear up the writer's block and get me through it. So.
And secondly,
Yeah.
Have you ever been asked to like work on any Japanese, like anything Japanese, like a manga?
No. Like manga is not really my style as far as like, well, yeah, actually, like I like a mix of styles. Like I haven't been asked to write anything in that particular genre yet, but I will. Like I like doing that kind of stuff. I like exploring other avenues and doing different things. I think it's kind of cool.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate your question.
He can hear you.
Hey, Matt.
Miss Susan, do you have any other teens who are wanting to have any questions?
I think that's it. They're rolling out for lunch. So I appreciate your time, Mr. Kevin, and we got all of our questions done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Susan. All right, well, Adam, I see that you have your hand up. Would you like to speak? I'm gonna ask you to unmute if you have any questions.
So for the Photoshop and Illustrator, is it like one time buy, or is it like yearly pay, or?
I think you can choose either one. I think you can do a monthly thing, or I think you can pay for the entire year. I'm not sure.
So it's not like a one-time buy kind of a thing?
No. It is a subscription based now. It used to be a long time ago. It used to be you buy Photoshop, you had it, and then they come out with other stuff every year. But that changed, and now it's just like everything else. It's like a subscription based program where it's like you pay every month.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to get into drawing, and they said Photoshop is an Illustrator are like the best you could use.
Yeah.
Cost wise is kind of like tight. So do you like know any other like digital art programs that are like cheaper?
Not for digital art. For editing, they're free programs. But like for like digital art, I don't know of any offhand.
Okay.
So the staples that all the guys that I know use are Photoshop and Illustrator.
Okay. So I had one more question. Totally forgot what it was. So when you publish your digital, like you said you publish digital comics, or okay, so like how does that marketing work for publishing digital comics?
Wow, that's a little different. It depends where you publish. They have a marketing program sometimes established for you to jump in. Like Amazon has its own marketing program, but there's other stuff you can do outside of that as well. You can hit the conventions. There's one in Lafayette, I think. There was one in New Orleans pre-COVID. So you can start hitting those and just talking to people and handing out your stuff and just kind of letting them know that you're there. There's social media marketing. There's Kickstarter. There's so many ways that you can market your stuff now. You just kind of have to be innovative to get people to actually see it.
All right.
Thank you, Adam. Mariah, I saw that you had your hand, and would you like to ask Kevin any questions?
No, she talks to you.
Oh, yes, I would.
Hi, Mariah. What question do you have for Kevin?
What is his comic book about?
Legendary is about a girl who finds a long lost pirate, and they go on a treasure hunting adventure. So it's space, it's treasure hunting, it's everything that I wanted to create from, I don't know, like I've always been a sci-fi fan, and I've always been like an Indiana Jones fan. So it's like a blend of all the things that make those concepts good, I think. Just the adventure, the excitement, the humor. And that's one thing I really wanted to bring too, because a lot of the stuff you see sometimes are really serious. And so I think it's nice to actually have something that's funny and exciting as well. So
Cool.
I appreciate your question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I saw there was another question in our chat. I'm gonna go ahead and mute everyone else again so we don't have any feedback. We did have a patron ask, and you may have already answered this one, Kevin, but how long did it take to, I mean, like you've said, this comic book, this graphic novel had basically everything that you love in it. So can you put an answer to this question? Someone had asked, how long did it take for you to come up with the idea for Legendary?
I think Legendary was kind of quick, because once it was always in me, like always, and that's the thing about me, like I'm always thinking about ideas and concepts, and I always have stuff swirling around, like different things. So it was just a matter of putting it down on paper. And that, like the script took a while to write, but like the concept itself was maybe like a couple of weeks. And even in that, writing a graphic novel, like your character has to change. So sometimes your character changes along the way, because just like humans, we all change. Like we all change and we all grow. So your character kind of has to grow along that process, you know. So the character kind of grew up a little bit and like through that process. So the writing, I don't know, it's like the character has to fit the situation. So as in anything, if certain things pop up, you're going to change accordingly. So the character changed too, so from beginning to end. So the concept was kind of fluid, but yeah, it took a long time for the graphic novel, but the concept itself, the basic concept, was just like maybe a week or two.
Fantastic. We're not necessarily wrapping up just yet, but I wanted to bring attention to something that I found on FantomLight's website. For those of you interested in FantomLight, it's Phantom with an F. So FANTOM light.com, I believe. I think I got that right. But on FantomLight, Kevin, on the About section of your website, you have this quote: "A well-told story can change perception, alter stereotypes, expose falsehoods, and even break down negative ideology. In essence, a good story can help change the world." How did you come to finding that purpose for your company?
Um, I worked at Advocate for like 11 years, and that means I read the paper every day for 11 years. You see so many negative things, like you see so many bad things in the world. So, but you also see so many good things. Um, so when I left, I wanted my company to make a difference. Like I really wanted to do something that I thought could help change some of the things that I was seeing every day. And I write stories. So we create concepts. And I always thought like a great concept, like a great story can really let you, like, I don't know, it's like we communicate in stories. That's how we communicate as people. So if you can get your audience to enjoy your character and get into that particular character or get into that particular concept, then they'll drop their guards. So, and with any character you start to love, you start to really, so you start to fear, you start to do and feel the same things that they're feeling. So the fear, the love, the happiness, the joy, you are along with them for the ride. So if I always thought that if I can get people to kind of drop their guard a little bit, then that was the seed of change. And you can change, people's perceptions on the stereotypes. You can change people's perspective on the world and, just try to make it a little bit better. So that's what I wanted to do with the company. And that's why, like, a lot of the narratives that we have and the documentaries that we do, they're really positive and they're informative. And they're focused on, like, changing the narrative a little bit and changing what you would normally see as a stereotype or something that you've been led to believe all your life, but it's not exactly right. Because I'll be honest, like when I was in school in history, we weren't taught the exact way that history was sometimes. So it wasn't until I got out of school that I realized that, I wasn't always given the whole story. So, are you still there, Alyssa?
Yes, I am. My camera decided that an hour was as long as it was going to be on. So didn't mean to interrupt you at all.
That's okay, but that's what I really wanted to do with the company. I wanted to make a difference. And I thought that we could use the way that we told stories to do that.
I love it. Just personally, I found inspiration just from seeing your website and reading that part of it.
Okay.
We have one question from Isabel. Isabel, I can unmute you. There you
Hi.
go. There you go.
I just had a quick question. You mentioned, as you were going through the process that you were kind of met with some of the limitations of traditional publishing and went a different route. When you were met with that, what did you do or work through to decide to kind of move to a different platform? And is it actually more liberating creatively to kind of go your own way? Or is it a little more liberating to have some limitations to what you can do and have workarounds you have to meet and sort of like rise to that challenge?
I'll be honest, it was stressful at first. It really was, because I didn't that wasn't the original plan. Like I planned on doing something different, but I always thought that it was a good story, so publishers would pick it up. And when I found out that they weren't, and for those particular reasons, I was like, oh wow, okay. So I think what it did was it allowed me to be a little bit more creative in how I wanted to get out there and how I needed to market and how I needed to tell people about the book. So, and this was, like I said, a very frustrating moment. I think it made me stronger and made me understand the industry a little bit better. So, and once I started writing and And I realized that it wasn't going in a traditional space. Yes, it makes you more creative, and it does liberate you to the fact that you can do this stuff, and now it's truly yours. Like, it is truly your baby. You can do it how you put up and make it exactly what you need to.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Sorry, you guys, if you noticed I was everywhere. My camera decided to die, so I had to change the battery real quick. Talk about a great thing. Before we have any other auditory questions, I do have one in my chat I wanted to make sure we do real quick. Mr. Ruiz was asking, what are the steps for doing a book virtually? I'm assuming maybe just he's wanting to know the difference, just a few differences between if you're doing the book, publishing a book in person versus publishing an ebook.
Honestly, like the pathway that we took was the same way. The only thing that I would change are the dimensions of the pages, and make it and try to go in a traditional route with your pages, because even if you go to Comixology, and putting your book in different places, they have the technology to pull from the traditional, like, size panels and the traditional size pages versus something that's shaped like mine, which is a full page spread. So I would say definitely go with what those traditional sizes are. But other limitations, I mean, everything's digital now. Like, I haven't been in the room with my crew ever. I met the colorist. I've never met the penciler in person. We've Zoomed and we've talked. I've never met the inker, and I've never met the letterer. We've only talked via computer and online and Zoom, but I've never met him in person. So the colorist and we've talked a few times because he lives in California. So when I go out there, we'll talk and meet up. But everybody else, I've never met.
Amazing. Do we have any other questions from anyone else?
I have one more question. I was, flipping back and forth. I went to Amazon, and I'm looking at Legendary, and it's beautiful. Man, the work is excellent. Did you go through KDP to get through Amazon?
Yes. Yep. That was it. I sure did.
Mariah, do you have a question?
Yes.
What you got?
Why and why did the people who make Teen Titans call you to write a script?
Well, that's a good question. They didn't really call me. What happened was those connections that I was telling you about that I made at the Red Stick Animation Festival, I just ended up meeting that producer, and he was doing Batman Brave and the Bold at that time. So I met him, we became friends. So I actually pitched him 3 ideas, and the one that they chose was the Easter egg. And that process was like, I just sent him 3 ideas. He's like, I like that one. And after I finished dancing and calling my mom and calling my wife and being very excited by that, like, he went through the process of creating for it. But it was just one of the connections that I made. And if you want, I can kind of give you that process too, because a lot of people don't know what that process is like. So 14 Titans Go, I had to write an outline first, which is just a written like points of what's going to be in the story, just so I can let them know what I plan on writing the script about. And
so are you saying if you send in your ideas and then they chose the one they like the best and they use that one?
Right. Well, I knew him beforehand. You just can't send in your ideas because they don't usually accept it. But because I knew him beforehand, I asked, hey, are you accepting pitches? And he was like, yeah, send me some. Give me 3. So I sent him my best 3. And believe me, I went through a bunch of them. So, and I sent him my best 3 pitches, my 3 ideas, and pitches are ideas. So my best 3 ideas for shows. So I sent him those. And he sat down with his producing partner and he looked at them, and they looked at them together. And they chose the Easter egg one. Like that one the best. So he emailed me back and he said, hey, These other two are okay. These are cool, but I like this one. Can you write something on this for us? And I said, absolutely, sure. I was perfectly calm on the phone. I got off the phone, and again, I was dancing and calling my mom and very excited about the whole process. So, so yeah. And then we do outlines first, and then we do scripts after. So, and I can go into detail if you want more detail on that, but if that, okay.
That answers your question, Mariah?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I'm gonna pop over to Adam. I see that he's asking a question. If I can find him. There he is.
Yeah. So for I'm trying to get into like filming also, not just drawing. The drawing's just like a side because I don't know how to draw fully yet. I'm still in the learning process, but I kind of know how to work with cameras and stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to do filming, but my main issue is the writing part.
Mhm.
So how did it like work when you wrote did you write the script for the Teen Titans episode, or was that someone else?
No, that was me.
Okay.
I wrote
So how did that process work when writing the script for the
Okay.
episode?
So that particular episode, like I was telling Mariah, it starts with an outline, and an outline is just a way for you to kind of get your thoughts together. So for you to tell your story, like step by step by step, like this is what's going to happen first, this is what's going to happen second, this is going to happen third, and then you go through your ideas for that particular episode. So then they looked at that and they said, okay, we don't like this, this needs to be changed. Cool, not a problem. So I did like another outline, and that was to more of what they liked. So they're like, okay, go on to a script format. So after that, you go to script and you do your first version, and they'll have changes. And that's the thing, like as a writer, you are gonna have people to change your stuff. It's just the nature of the business. Like what you write is never gonna be set in stone. Like animation, movies, comic books, they're all a collaborative medium. So you're collaborating with other people, and it's kind of like the overall vision. If you collaborate correctly, then it makes your product stronger, always. But so as a writer for somebody else's concept, they're gonna have an idea on what their characters are gonna be doing, and they're gonna have an idea on what they want their characters to do and what they don't want. So you're gonna have a lot of feedback on that. And it's constructive feedback, so you have to take it as such. And as a writer, that's hard sometimes because, or as any creator, because we're personal about our stuff. That's what makes art so personal to us, because we love it so much. It's a part of us. We're creating that. But at the same time, you're creating that for somebody else, and they have their idea on what they want that to be. So you always have to be open to change and open to their feedback and working through that process with them. So I went through 2 outline formats and 2 script formats. And then the final script, they said, perfect, thank you, we love it. And even that, understand, once you hand your script in and you're done with it, for the creative process, they still have to animate it. So some of the stuff they wrote in that script may not translate well when they're trying to animate it. They may not have the budget for that little piece that you added in, or this may take longer, or it's easier to do it this way. So even the script that I wrote, like the final product looked a little bit different just because they had to change it for production. And that's something that you have to understand as a writer and not take personal. Yeah. It's not personal at all. So I'm sorry, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
I've enjoyed listening to all the questions and seeing what everyone's curious about the most, and connecting all the dots with everything. I think we're pretty much done with the questions in the chat. I know a few of you have discussed or have asked questions about contacting Kevin, and Kevin did mention that for FantomLight.com. When we edit this video, we will put a link to his website in it as well. I know that I was super excited to have you come, Kevin, and spend some time with us and just let us see all the stuff that happens with this. You know, we have the books here in the library, but just to see like how does this happen? Like how do these kind of creations work? It's an amazing experience to get to see it all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I think everybody will wrap it up. I mean, my camera already died once from the battery, so I think we did pretty good when it comes to spending time. Oh, Miss Susan has one person. Let's see. Susan has a question for one of her students. Let me unmute that real quick. Hey, Miss Susan.
Yes, hello. I have a student that has a question for Adam, for one of your patrons.
Sure.
Go ahead and stand in front of the camera here, sir, and look into the camera here. You can back up a little bit. You're talking to Adam now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to tell Adam that I like Pokemon, and I wanted to see which one's his favorite Pokemon.
That's a hard question because I have a favorite out of the 18 types, but my top 2 favorite are Umbreon and Vaporeon. So,
yeah, I like all the EV evolutions too.
Yeah.
I like Charizard.
Hey,
He's
Charizard ain't that bad.
I love it.
Any more questions?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
And we appreciate your time today that you took out to speak to our students. We really appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Susan. All right, you guys. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Really appreciate all you guys coming on. Just know that eventually we will have the video edited and we'll have it on our YouTube page. So if you go to YouTube, search for Ascension Parish Library. We do have our own page now. So we'll have that there. We'll have a link to Kevin's site as well. It's FantomLight.com. And you can also add any questions, further questions about the video. We can attempt to get them ferreted to Kevin if we need to, if you wanted to post them on YouTube once we have the video. Kevin, on behalf of everybody here, we just thank you so much for joining us. It's been so much fun just to learn more about all the things that you work with.
Thank y'all. It was an absolute pleasure. And again, if you need to get in touch with me, like I said, I'm not hard to get in touch with, I'm not hard to find. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Fantastic, you guys. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and end this webinar. I'm gonna miss everybody. It was a lot of fun. I hope you all have a wonderful Saturday and stay creative, and y'all just have a wonderful day, all right?
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank y'all.
Bye.